Hi, I'm Mike Ramirez with Kantar's Health Division.
And I'm Katie Stockstill, also with Kantar's Health Division.
Today we're going to talk about the abstract covered in the ESMO Presidential Symposium 3 that just wrapped up on Monday. So at a high level, this session was focused on gastrointestinal cancer, particularly the first line setting, though there was a trial in the adjuvant setting as well. So the big takeaway here is that we're starting to see more and more data for Keytruda and Opdivo in the first line setting where it's currently not approved. Currently, only a subset of patients are treated with these checkpoint inhibitors in later lines of therapy. Keytruda has an approval in patients with MSI high or deficient mismatch repair, granted that they progressed on prior therapy, and is also approved in combination with chemo in third-line patients who express PD-L1. Opdivo is not currently approved for gastric cancer, but it is approved in Japan, where there's a lot more cases of gastric cancer. So I think one of the themes here is that there's potential not only for these drugs to move into the much larger first-line population, but potentially, in some cases, potentially stripping away some of the biomarkers that limit the population. So bearing that in mind, we'll quickly walk through the key results from the trials. Katie, do you want to take us through Checkmate 649?
Yeah. So at ESMO, we got the first look at the numerical data with the Opdivo combination showing a median overall survival of 14.4 months versus 11.1 months for the chemo comparator in patients with PD-L1 greater than 5%. Opdivo chemo combination showed a median PFS of 7.7 months versus 6.0 months for the control arm and PD-L1 greater than 5%, which is the primary study population. But what's interesting is that the combo reached significance for OS in all patients. While PFS did not reach significance, it did trend in favor of the combo in all patients.
Okay, so that's interesting. So will they file for in the PD-L1 above 5% or in all patients?
I think given the data as well as the design of the study, it's more likely that they will file in the PD-L1 greater than 5%. But with the data in hand, potentially oncologists could consider the combo even if the patient does not express PD-L1 greater than 5%.
Okay. So I'm just looking at Kantar's treatment architecture right now, and I'm seeing that about 60% of first-line patients are currently tested for PD-L1, and then about 30% of those go on to be positive, so potentially restricting that treatable population down based on PD-L1.
Very true. And with that, I'm going to continue on with the Attraction 4 study, which is Opdivo and chemo in first-line HER2-negative patients. Since about 70% of patients are HER2 negative, this biomarker requirement may not have as big of an impact compared to the PD-L1 in Checkmate 649. In the study, median PFS was 10.45 months for the combo and 8.34 months for the control, while median OS was 17.45 months for the combo and 17.15 months for the control. So for this interim analysis, PFS met statistical significance while OS did not.
Okay, so it's not quite a slam dunk, but this is just an interim analysis. The tide could certainly turn potentially, especially given that the combo showed higher response rate and durability.
Definitely, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'll just go on now to Keynote 590. So this trial is a bit different than the others as it focuses on esophageal cancer, which mirrors gastric in that chemo is the current go-to first-line treatment. So Keynote 590 was in first-line patients. The median overall survival in patients with PD-L1 CPS greater than 10% was 13.9 months compared to 8.8 months for chemo alone. The median PFS was 7.5 months for the combo compared to 5.5 months for the control arm in PD-L1, again, greater than 10%. But significance was also reached in all patients. So the data look quite promising, especially considering the combo was compared to chemo, which was what these patients would be receiving right now.
So you think this regimen is likely to be approved?
Yeah, I think so. I think it would be a step up from chemo. There were no major safety concerns that I saw, so I think it'll become the new standard of care. Yeah. And then the last abstract we have here, moving on to Checkmate 577, which is testing Opdivo in adjuvant gastric cancer. So currently, patients with resectable disease typically receive what's called a trimodality therapy. But after this fails, there's really no clear standard of care for the adjuvant setting. So in terms of disease-free survival, Opdivo showed a median of 22.4 months compared to 11 months for placebo, amounting to a 31% reduction in the risk of recurrence or death.
Wow. So how do you view this regimen?
Yeah, so I think this is another example where we might just be seeing another standard of care starting to emerge.
And it's interesting because if it becomes standard practice to use checkpoint inhibitors in the adjuvant setting, what's that going to do to the usage in metastatic patients?
Right. Yeah, that's another one where we're just going to have to see how it all plays out. But, potentially if people are receiving checkpoint inhibitors earlier in the treatment paradigm, then maybe they will not need it in the metastatic setting. So we'll just have to see, or there could be no effect. So we'll have to see.
Right. But one thing for sure is that these results represent an advance in a group of patients that has not seen advance in many years.
Yes, definitely. So it's great news in that regard.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you all for listening.
Yes, thank you.